Donald Trump had died. Of course, none of it was true, but the speed at which it spread shows just how wild the online rumor mill has become. Even Joe Biden allegedly responded through a Ouija board. The afterlife has never been so politically divided. And honestly, the joke almost writes itself. You know things are bad when even the dead have better communication skills than some living politicians. Good evening and welcome to Global Insight News, where the truth sometimes feels stranger than fiction and the headlines read like rejected Netflix scripts. Tonight, buckle up, because the stories you're about to hear are equal parts ridiculous, infuriating, and let's be honest, unintentionally hilarious. And before we dive into the madness, let me say this: if you want sharp analysis, bold commentary, and a dose of humor that will keep you laughing while shaking your head at the world, hit that subscribe button right now. Global Insight News is where reality meets satire, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let's start with a hook so sharp you could slice a watermelon with it. Picture this: Greta Thunberg decides to set sail to Gaza, probably thinking this would be a triumphant voyage of climate justice and youthful defiance. But just hours after leaving port, the mission was aborted and the boat turned back. Why? Apparently, she forgot something essential. No, not food, not water, not even sunscreen, the bowl she uses to cut her own hair. You almost have to admire the consistency, saving the planet one awkward haircut at a time. And while Greta sails in circles, the rest of us are stuck wondering, was this an act of protest or just the world's most expensive Uber ride gone wrong? Now, speaking of voyages, let's talk about a journey even more unbelievable: Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's net worth. It reportedly jumped from $51,000 to a staggering $30 million in just 1 year. That's not a career trajectory, that's a magic trick. Forget crypto, forget the lottery, apparently, all you need is politics and a good campaign slogan. Of course, the real punchline isn't the money, it's that her own brother is allegedly the most upset about this because, well, let's just say the alimony checks never arrived. Google it. Actually, don't, the rabbit hole is deeper than you want to know. But the absurdities don't stop there. Rosie O'Donnell popped up in a new video recently, and what caught everyone's attention wasn't her commentary, it was the enormous cold sore she was sporting. Social media lit up with theories faster than a conspiracy forum at 3 a.m. Some claimed it was stress, others said it was diet, and one particularly savage commenter suggested it was the first recorded case of someone catching it from a toilet seat. Crude? Yes. Funny? Absolutely. And in the hierarchy of late-night burns, this one lands right near the top. Now, onto something that truly encapsulates the madness of our times. Over the weekend, baseless rumors flooded social media claiming President Donald Trump had died. Of course, none of it was true, but the speed at which it spread shows just how wild the online rumor mill has become. Even Joe Biden allegedly responded through a Ouija board. The afterlife has never been so politically divided. And honestly, the joke almost writes itself. You know things are bad when even the dead have better communication skills than some living politicians. Meanwhile, Representative Jerry Nadler announced his retirement after 34 years in Congress. 34 years of speeches, debates, and more pants-related malfunctions than we care to count. He claims he's stepping down because he needs a change. Sure. But insiders suggest the real change he's referring to is his trousers. Apparently, his dry cleaner couldn't take it anymore. If there were a Guinness World Record for most pants destroyed in office, Nadler would win without competition. And just when you thought things couldn't get stranger, reports from China suggest they're unveiling the world's most powerful laser. Yes, while America is arguing over pronouns and gas prices, China is out there building a real-life Death Star. But don't worry, experts here in the US already have plans for it. They're thinking of using it for cosmetic procedures. Specifically, removing Rashida's mustache. Because if you can't lead the world in innovation, at least you can lead in laser hair removal. But the comedy of errors doesn't end with lasers. In New York, a candidate for mayor announced a bold plan to tackle the city's rat problem, releasing thousands of cats into the streets. Yes, Because nothing says 21st century urban policy like turning your city into a live-action Tom and Jerry episode. But here's the kicker, once the cats do their job, what do you do with all the stray cats? Release dogs? Then wolves? By the end of this logic, New York will look less like a city and more like a National Geographic documentary gone horribly wrong. Sports news also had its share of facepalms this week. Bill Belichick, the legendary coach known for his stoic glare and hoodie collection, lost his first game as head coach 48-14. Embarrassing? Sure. But it could have been worse. Imagine if the score had been 73-24. Actually, don't imagine it. Patriots fans are already crying into their clam chowder as it is. And then there's Canada. Oh, Canada. The land of maple syrup, hockey, and apparently landlords who have discovered a disturbing new business model. Reports suggest some landlords are offering free rent to young women in exchange for sex. Let that sink in. Free rent. In Toronto. That alone should have crazy stories, right? And here's the thing, while these headlines are wild enough to make you think the world has officially gone off the rails, they actually expose a deeper truth. The media's favorite game is prioritizing problems. Not solving them, not addressing them, but deciding whose problems deserve the spotlight. It's like an old girlfriend who always made everything about herself. And by old, I mean 35. The pattern is simple, your problems don't matter. Theirs do. Crime in your neighborhood? Not newsworthy. A political narrative that fits the script? Front page coverage. Take the CBS interview with Kristi Noem about the Maryland father who was murdered. They edited her response so heavily it looked like a TikTok clip gone wrong. In her full comments, she called out the suspect as a human trafficker, gang member, and wife beater who even his fellow criminals thought was disgusting. But on TV? They cut it down to one sanitized line. And that right there is the playbook: erase the ugly truths, focus on the optics, and pray viewers don't notice the difference. Except viewers do notice. They always notice. The media's obsession isn't with solving crime, it's with protecting narratives. It's not about whether illegal immigrants commit crimes, it's about how carefully the news can frame it so no one gets offended. And heaven forbid someone misgenders a criminal. In one recent case, after a biological male killed children in Minneapolis, the first concern wasn't the tragedy, it was making sure the pronouns were correct. Imagine being one of the grieving parents, and instead of answers or justice, you're handed a linguistic lecture. That's not compassion, that's insanity. And here's the ugly reality, this isn't a one-off. Time and again, we see the same story play out. Crime rises. Families suffer. But the coverage? It's all about protecting feelings, never about protecting lives. Chicago sees 54 people shot over a holiday weekend, and the outrage isn't about the victims, it's about the possibility of Trump sending in the National Guard. Authoritarianism, they scream. But what about the families burying loved ones? Silence. This is why people gravitate toward outsiders, why voters flocked to Trump. Not because he was perfect, but because he spoke to people's actual problems. Rising crime. Rising prices. Schools failing kids. Communities being ignored. Meanwhile, the media wanted to talk about drag queens in Ecuador. Nothing against Ecuadorian drag queens, they've probably got fantastic stage names, but maybe tax dollars could be better spent fixing potholes or stopping fentanyl. And here's the funniest part. The same media that tells you systemic oppression and toxic masculinity are the biggest threats couldn't care less if your daughter shares a locker room with a biological male or if your neighborhood is riddled with gangs. They're too busy telling you that your real problem is your attitude. Their problems are special, yours don't count. But Americans aren't stupid. They know when they're being gaslit. They know when their problems are being ignored. And they know when the so-called news is more concerned with signaling virtue than delivering facts. That's why ratings for traditional outlets keep sinking while channels like Global Insight News keep growing. People want honesty, even if it comes with sarcasm. They want reality, even if it comes with a punchline. So here's the takeaway: the world is crazy, the media is biased, and sometimes the best way to process it all is to laugh at the absurdity. Because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And trust me, nobody wants to see that on YouTube. Now I'll leave you with this: do you think the media's obsession with identity politics and sanitized narratives is making America safer, or is it distracting us from the real problems we should be fixing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get the conversation going. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss another episode of Global Insight News. Because the truth may hurt, but at least here, it will always make you laugh too.